Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to pick number 16 of my favorite 31 albums of the 70s countdown. It's October. Of course, you know there's 31 days in the month, so we're picking out our 31 favorite albums of the 70s across all genres. We've done individual monthly shows on many of the genres. Now we're putting all the albums together. All the musical styles. It's all up for grabs from the 70s. I'm only doing one album for any one band or artist, but you are free to pick as many as you like from your favorites. But I want to leave a wide open playing field. And so far we've seen some good stuff this month, including this album. It's the fifth studio album from this British band, released March 23rd, 1973, recorded at Command Studios in London, England. Produced by the band for Island or Atlantic Records, depending on where you're from. I'm talking about Lark's Tongues and Aspic by King Crimson. Yes, indeedy. This is the first album from the now retooled lineup of the band. It's amazing when you look at the history of King Crimson. They have all these eras, right, with these big drastic lineup changes and different sound, right? And this was the beginning of what became a 3-album run with a pretty classic lineup of the band. If you ask me, Robert Fripp on electric and acoustic guitars, mellotron, pianette and devices, John Wetton, bass, vocals, Bill Bruford, drums, percussion, David Cross, violin, viola, mellotron, pianette, flute, and Jamie Muir on percussion, drums, and all sorts of other gongs and things like that. Now, of course, this would be the only of the 3 albums I'm talking about, which is this, Starless and Bible Black and Red. This would be the only album of the trio with Jamie Muir in the band. He would leave after the tour of this album, and then it would just be down to the foursome. And then really with Red, it's kind of the threesome of Fripp, Wetton, and Bruford, although David Cross does play on the album, but at the time he's not really considered a member of the band. But the look and feel and sound of King Crimson, very, very similar across all 3 of these records. And of course, John Wetton coming over from stint in Family, right? Bill Bruford from Yes. It's pretty much almost like a little supergroup, but very, very different sounding than what we got on Islands and Lizard and Wake Up Poseidon and Core of the Crimson King. This is a totally different beast. So what do we got on this album? We've got opening and closing with Lark's Tongues and Aspic Part 1 and then Part 2. Each one epic, raucous, heavy, 20 minutes worth of some of the best sounds ever to come from this band, in my opinion. Lark's Tongues and Aspic Part 1 starts off the album in a great way. Man, so riffy. Fripp's tone is ragged, jagged, metallic on much of this album, especially those 2 tracks. That's why a lot of times, you talk about like proto-metal bands and whatnot. You gotta look a little bit at some of the stuff from King Crimson, from the first album to Red, as having an influence on a lot of heavy bands because of Fripp's tone and the riffy nature of it and just the way he solos and whatnot. Very, very cool stuff. Then you got, of course, the lovely Book of Saturday, moving into Exiles. Exiles, so wonderful. Again, great use of mellotron on this album. And just the way, the leathery bass playing from Wetton, his great vocals. Also, I think Bruford's drumming is perfect for this era of the band. Absolutely perfect. Over on side B, you've got Easy Money, hard rockin', off-kilter, kooky, crazy stuff for a bit. Then atmospheric. Easy Money's so good. Great vocal from Wetton on that as well. Then you have the talking drum. Very cool instrumental. Nice slow build to that. Just one of their more haunting tracks. So good. And then, of course, Lark's Tongues and Aspic Part 2, right? How about that riff and boom, 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 boom. Awesome song. I'd argue as great as Part 1 is, Part 2 is probably the better of the 2, or at least my favorite of the 2. Just amazing stuff on this album. This, of course, is my favorite King Crimson album. It's hard to pick a favorite from this time period, right? There's this. This is generally my favorite. Core of the Crimson King, the debut from '69. That usually is number 2. It's often been number 1. Red is probably also right up there too. Those 3 are my favorite King Crimson albums, and sometimes they rotate from the number 1, 2, and 3 spot. They kind of rotate around. But yeah, just great stuff here. So, and also I do want to make mention, Richard Palmer James is their lyricist. So he's kind of like a de facto member of the band, writes all their lyrics. So charting positions, Canada, it's made it to number 56. In Finland, number 15. Italy, number 8. Those prog rock bands did pretty well in Italy, right, Sal? Japan, 26. UK album charts, number 20, and this made it to number 61 on the Billboard charts, and but did not certify. Right now, you can't really see an album like this being a huge monster seller, but very, very influential, not only to progressive rock bands, but I think to heavier bands as well, with its mix of kind of jazzy things and heavier things and more atmospheric symphonic rock and whatnot. It's a little bit everything on this album. Very, very cool. So that's my pick for today. Larks, Tongues, and Aspic from King Crimson comes in at number 16. Let us know what you think of this album down in the comments below, as well as your pick for today. And we'll see you tomorrow for pick number 15. We're counting down, right? We're about halfway through the month now. So we've got lots of good stuff to come before we move into November. November 1st starts solo albums. Now, I saw some of you, when I announced it yesterday, remarked, oh my God, this is going to be so hard. I don't know if I can participate in solo albums. Sure you can. Really think about it. Come on. How many solo albums do you probably own by people who were in very, very notable bands, right? There's lots. Just think of all your favorite bands. In most cases, many of the members had successful solo albums too. Just, Eagles, the Beatles, right? The Beach Boys, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest. I'm just naming some of the big bands, right? Van Halen, Rolling Stones. Just think about it, folks. There are a ton of great solo albums from guys from prominent bands. Yes, Genesis. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So it's really not as hard as it may seem. Really isn't. In fact, you'll finally realize, as I'm putting together my list, that it's an enormous list. So, but remember, they had to have been from a notable band first. So we're not going with someone who just right out of the gate started doing solo albums and somehow caught on. That's not what we're going for. We're going for solo albums, true solo albums from notable people from notable bands, right? Could be the singer, guitar player, bass player, drummer, whatever. And it could be that they were with a notable band for a while and then broke to go solo and never went back to the band. That's good too. That you can still use that as well, right? So yeah, it's not that hard. So it'll be fun. We've never done a show like this before, so it's something completely new. So stay tuned for that. Starting next month. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. All together, all the damn time. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow for pick number 15. I'm Pete Pardo. Bye bye.